How's it going, everybody? We're on episode 13 of building my PA14 replica using aero 2+2 sportsman plans. So let's get at it. Alright, so in the last episode we left off, it was sitting on its gear, but the cabane V was only held in with one bolt. So, and I never had the cabane fittings, tabs, brackets, whatever you want to call it, welded in either. They were just there. That's all done now. The gear legs are completely welded in. Got the inside of here welded for the lift strut bracket. So, and as you can see, I started to build a cabane V, but for these brackets here, like I said before in the plans, they don't really show you where to bend or how much to bend, but you can see it in the drawing that they're bent. But if you also look in the drawing, it tells you to put both landing gear brackets in the center of this tube and this one in the center of this tube. But the center to center on the landing gear is 21.5, and the center to center on those tubes in the plans is not 21.5, it's more. So I don't know how you're supposed to put the two fittings in the center of both tubes and still be on center for the landing gear, but I chose to put the lift strut fitting in the center of this tube because that actually matters when you're flying around in the air. The position of the landing gear is not really that critical. So yeah, I figured the lift strut fitting should be in the center. At least there's a hell of a lot more force on that than the actual landing gear. So that's what I done, and doing that, put this front gear fitting flush and the back one at an angle. So yeah, you can choose to do that however you wish. I don't think it really matters how you done it. You could split the difference and even it out, and that lift strut fitting being like 3/16 of an inch ahead or 1/8 of an inch, whatever it would end up being, I don't think that's gonna be the end of the world. It'll fly just fine. It's not gonna fall apart in the sky. So do as you wish. So yeah, that's that. Those are all in. Then I started building the cabane V. And it's pretty simple. Let's see if I can get it to pop out here. They're dropping everything. How am I gonna do this? Bucket it. It can drop, it won't hurt it. So yeah, I literally have the V made and the top fittings are done. I didn't follow the plans for the dimensions on this. Seeing how that cabane V with this particular bungee setup and everything did fit that a nice height, it just needed a little more width to be able to bolt in. I figured I'll just use that. So the width is adjusted for my fuselage, as you can see, but the height is the same as that one. So I'm just going to cut out the ears there, or the flat patterns, whatever you want to call them. And we're going to weld them on here, and that'll be it for the cabane V. What? For these tubes, it's pretty simple. Hammer the tube flat, grind it out so the tube there in the end fits in it. And that's an old 63 strap. It's just a finger strap. That one there. They call out, I don't know if that'll stand up, man. They call out 3/8 065, but they're counting on using 1/4 inch bolts. So if you're using 5/16 or -5 AN5, whatever you want to call it, that tube size won't work. I was hoping to use half inch, I can't remember now. There's a 1/2 inch size, you can look it up in Aircraft Spruce. They got a chart that shows the inside diameters, but I never had any of that size on hand. There's none in my bargain box of miscellaneous tubes from aircraft spruce, but I did have some, I think that's the rest of it there, yeah. Some 7/16 with the correct ID. You gotta ream out a little tiny bit, but I figure that's the next best thing. Actually, it might be 7/16 065. So same wall thickness they're specking out, is just a little bigger for the little bigger bolt. But anyways, if you made it this far in the project, you can figure that out. So yeah, weld that in solid, then do your finger strap. And to line everything up, that's under my plans. I don't know how well you can see it, but this is my layout. I did an inch up off of the edge, and height to the top of the V I believe was 9 inches. So I laid out my width where I wanted it, and I actually put 2 center punches. So that lined up my 2 tubes there and there, and I drew where my intercept wanted to be and where I wanted it at the end and all that good stuff. So that's how I used to mark my angle. Well, first I laid the line tube up, and as you can see I drew a line, then used a protractor to measure that angle, cut the tubes, and to hold everything straight, what I done was, I don't know if I still got it over here. After today I'm cleaning my bench, but to hold these tubes, I took my transfer punch, put it through, lined it up with center punch like so. This is on an angle now, but I held that in place, took the center punch out, and then used a pair of the seat, or they're over there. But used a pair of vice grips, clamped it here, did the same thing over here, lined up my center punch with the tube, clamped it, and so 2 of them were in its place. And then for the height, I put the difference for the outside diameter, or the outside width of this versus the tube, was a 1/2 inch, so it had to be a 1/4 inch up, so that worked out good. I used a 1/4 inch high-speed steel tool bit for the lathe. Up here needed a little more because it's not hammered and swelled out, so I used an adjustable parallel, but you could easily take 2 wooden shims, oppose them, slide them together until you get where it needs to be. So that's how I jigged that up, so it stayed all straight and true and everything good in the world. So yeah, now we're going to cut it to flat pattern for the bungee struts. I guess that's what you'd call them, those pieces right there. And weld that in, and the cabane V should be done. I can disassemble that over there, and we can eliminate our ratchet straps. So let's get to it. Alright, well, we got the 4 of these cut out. Now we gotta drill some holes, and I'm gonna gang drill them. There's no sense in drilling 8 holes when you can drill 2. So let's go over to the milling machine and get at that. Alright, so we got them all clamped in. We got a 23/64 drill bit in here. We're gonna go ahead, drill our hole, pull the drill bit, and I'm gonna run a 3/8 reamer down through. So let's get at it. Hopefully I didn't just cover the camera in oil. course the heater gotta kick in. Slow this down for the reamer. High range, and oil everywhere again. Looks like missing the camera lens, look. I like using lots of oil with reamers. There we go. Done. Just like that. 8 holes drilled. All exactly the same distance apart. So, with any luck, nothing funny should happen. Okay, on to the next thing. Okay, so our cabane V is 7/8 of an inch. So space the bolt hole location in them tubes equally apart. I'm just going to make some aluminum spacers like I've been doing for all the gear fittings and stuff. So let's get to it. Now, I'm going to put 3/8 hole in it first. And hold on, now my cutting fluid's over there. I like this stuff for aluminum. It seems to work pretty good. And as you can see, I didn't center drill it. If you don't see the bit wobble around at the beginning, then it's good. If right off the bat it starts doing some funny stuff, you stop, face it off, center drill it then. If not, your hole's going to be going on an angle somewhere. It's not going to be square to your shoulder you get your machining. I'm going to make 2 of these, so I'm going to go too far. I'm not really wasting any stuff. Okay, I'm going to call that good enough for the hole for now. One thing I hate about this rule, metric is on the top. So it's kind of hard to see what in the world you're measuring. You guys aren't going to see this, you're going to have to take my word. But right there, that's 7/8 of an inch. So let's part it off. Okay, on to the next one. Oh, yeah. Lots of room. This camera position is kind of in the way for using the tail stack, but I can manage. If he's little, it's something, but for what we're using it for, it'll be fine. Really hot. Good. It's got a bit of a wobble on it to make sure this face and the one I'm going to create now partner off are parallel. Right there. Sometimes they'll crack off easy. Here we go. 2 spacers. Alright, as you can see, I got the 2 bottom corners clamped in the same spot as I did when I did the tube work. We got our plates, our spacers all bolted together. So I got that slid on here. And when I done to line it all up, the measurement I wanted the bolts to be at, do the math, go from your table, add the distance of your half your bushing, all that stuff. So that's marked off here on the table on these 2 corners. I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's 2 silver marks there. So I done it far out, and using a 24-inch rule, that gives you your best chance of getting it everything all square and level. So that was that. And then on the front side here, the measurement is 2 3/8, so 1 3/16 is half point. So you can see it when it's bottled up on a round surface, wherever it actually touches is where it's 2. So put 1 on an inch mark, and then the other one should be 2 3/8 and 1 3/16. You should be able to look straight down. I'm using a nut here to hold up the other end, but you can look straight down to make sure you're on your center line. So that gets your center and your square and your up and down. So right now this is where everything needs to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack this, and I'm gonna move the camera because it is right in front of me. Okay, we're ready to tack. Okay, that's that side. There we have it. Should be correct. Before I weld it out, we're going to stick it on the plane and make sure it looks like it's supposed to look. Alright, we got the struts put in place. I just slid them in from the back side, as you can see. So I didn't want to take apart my spacers and all that stuff, so I just got them poked in like that. Plus this ratchet strap goes through that hole there, so I couldn't put it on the inside of that one if I wanted to. But I did try it in that one over there, and it does swing up and it lands dead center of the cabane V, so the forward and the back is good to go on that. So we'll pull it back out and weld her up. Okay, nothing left to do now besides burn some metal in. Let's get at it. Now, I don't know if I want this up like that or laying down. I'd like to have it clamped too, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll try it. Ready to that. No vent tube or vent hole in this tube, and I had no troubles with gas blowing out until now. As you can see, there's a nice pinhole, and my tungsten is absolutely covered. So I didn't want to. I have to drill a hole in this to let the gases out, because if not, that'll be a recurring problem. Okay. Just gonna pop a hole in there. We'll weld that shut after we're done welding everything else. My tungsten's cleaned up. So, let's try again. Well, some of this finger's really hot. Oh, there we go. Just weed right there, on in 2 layers, into. Go in, fill in that valley. I came back on this edge and then started here again, tied back up. Well, it's done then, put that in move. It's not going to have to be into. Steel rats, it don't matter, the little one gets pretty hot at times. And, yeah, burn with it. Go with it. Or do you fight the urge to do it with aluminum. Get away with steel. Just basically move everything around to comfortable. Okay. That side. Same thing over here. Run that rod. See, might get it wrong. I'll say right, I think I finished it. There we go. Right. Now we got a rod. Just reference. These are 1/16, smaller ones I use are 0.45. Okay. Okay. Now we got to do the edge weld. So, how do I want to do this? Not like that. I think I'm going to do this over in the vise. Yeah, hopefully you can see a little bit of what I'm doing here. If you do any amount of TIG welding and you don't have a TIG finger, you gotta get one. It's a lifesaver. Now, whatever grease and paint and crap is burning off that bolt does not smell pretty. There we go. Done. There's your cabane V. I'll have to look at the plans. I don't think it shows the weld in there anywhere. My factory one over there is not. So, oh. Well, yeah. I'll look, make sure we're not welding in there. If we're not, we can fill up that vent hole as well. Yeah, from the look of the drawing, it doesn't show the weld inside, so I'm gonna button this one up. There. Easy as that. Don't be afraid to drill vent holes. Makes your life a lot easier. Well, there we have it. It still fit the fuselage. It did pull together a tiny bit before you used to be able to just slide the bolts in, but now you got to give it a little persuasion, but it's to be expected when you go with welding stuff. Yeah, bolt holes even lined up with my safety cable plate, which I never checked until it was all welded on, but I don't know, measurements don't lie. And my bungees definitely need to be replaced before I ever go flying this thing on skis. They're a little worse for wear, but other than that, it's good. There's no way in the world I'm gonna get anything to move, because normally there's a couple 100-pound engine hanging on this and some wings and a whole lot of other stuff. But it is getting heavier. There's definitely some more gravity in her. But that's good. I'm gonna keep building stuff and bolting it on and welding it on until it weighs around 1,250 pounds, hopefully. By that time it should be ready to fly. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this Cabane V. I'm glad, honestly, that this one didn't fit. But yeah, I'll show you that more. See what I was talking about, how one bushing was off center? And this one here does fit between those gear fittings. This one's too wide, so I would have had to trim it. And just an old relic. So it'll live with the PA12 fuselage, whatever happens to that in the future. And I got a nice new one now. So at least now I know everything's brand new. That one might be 4130, it might be 1025, I don't know. God only knows when it was built. But at least now I got new gear legs, new lower strut rods. I'm guessing this thing got like some kind of gas shock dampening going on in here. It's not just a tube inside of a tube. Whether or not it still works, I don't know, but everything looks good. So I'll clean this up, put new bungees on it whenever the time comes I flies this on skis. I'm not worrying about that right now, but yeah, at least now everything in there is pretty new. And who knows, maybe I'll splurge and buy some shocks of some variety, whatever flavor is the popular one whenever the time comes. Because anything's pretty much an improvement on the bungees. It's tried and true, but for landing on rough lakes with snow drifts and everything else, suspension would be a lot nicer than bungee cords. So yeah, I think I'm going to end it now for this video. I'm going to keep it kind of short, seeing how up until this point we've been kind of focusing on this area. Next, I think I'm going to move aft again and try to button up some stuff back there. Finish making the tail spring mount. Might do the hinges for the rudder, and there's a bushing that got to be welded through for the tail brace wires on the vertical fin post there, the rudder post, whatever you want to call it. So we'll get into all that stuff back there in the next episode. So for now, as always, have a good one. Like the video if you haven't liked it already and you want to, and subscribe if you want to see more of this. Have a good one, everybody.